All right, everybody. Welcome to Rotary. I'm glad to see everybody has survived the great freeze of the South, right? So today we've got some missing pianists, both of them today. So Reg has agreed to go a cappella. So here we go for Reg Abrams, everybody. Yay, Reg.
It's just what you call nerve. Okay, we're going to do God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide we fall. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Would you please join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call it David Ginsburg for invocation. And David was graciously another standby because if Wishy wasn't here and Wishy didn't make it. So thank you, David.
I told Lawrence that's big shoes to fill.
It is big shoes to fill.
Let us pray. We are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Thank you, David. You may be seated. Thank you, David. And I call Greg Juno up here to introduce our guests. If you have a guest, would you please make your way to the microphone to introduce your guest?
We only got one.
Okay, that's fine. They still got to go there.
Hey, Megan has a guest.
So it is my honor today to introduce Raymond Lee. Raymond Lee is the new CEO of the YMCA. So you all probably knew Gary Lash. Gary retired at the end of the year. Raymond has been with the Y for 20 years, and he's been running the BHP location since the inception. And so I would like y'all to welcome Raymond Lee.
All right, welcome Raymond. Glad to have you with us. Okay, on Zoom we have another guest. Anybody else have a guest? No? Okay. On Zoom we have Brent Latin, Dasha Peak, Tori Thomas, Gard Wade, and Gene Richardson. Welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And we've got a bunch of announcements. One kind of leads right into the new director of the YMCA, Megan introduced. YMCA is celebrating 100 years Friday, February 6th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the downtown Y on McNeil. So that's a long existence down there. I remember when I went down there as a very young man when we didn't have any place to work out here but the they built incredible facilities since then as well. And I think y'all have updated that location quite a bit. So congratulations to y'all. Also, Mike Farrell, unfortunately, these are two bad news I have to dole out. Mike Farrell fell and broke his hip. So send your prayers and well wishes to him, as well as Fred Ratzenberger. Fred is going to undergo open heart surgery tomorrow. So I'm certain everything will go well, but please keep him in your prayers, thoughts and prayers for Fred, and hopefully they'll both be back here very soon. I think, Larry, you could probably call Mike and talk to him about hip problems, huh? You had a doozy. You came back strong. All right. Also, as a reminder about spouse membership, so far we've had 5 people take up our spouse membership for the club, and their cards have been printed, I believe. Have they not, Lawrence? And the cards have been printed. They're ready to go, all the 5, and we're waiting for more. For $210, your spouse can be an additional member on your account. Again, just as a reminder, it's membership only, doesn't include any of the extracurriculars that you enjoy, such as lunch and other things. That's an extra charge, but please, if you can, get them involved. What else? Also, this Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, the 12th, again, where's Deb? Deb, where are you? With the Gwen. Where's Deb? Deborah. Am I missing somebody? Okay, Deborah, I thought I saw you here. Yeah. She always sets us up every year for giving out vases, cards, and flowers to residents at the Glen. It's a fantastic thing. If you haven't done it before, I'd encourage you to do it. I think I've done it every year. It's been great, and I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do that, and the residents really enjoy it, especially the memory unit folks. They don't get to see a whole lot of people, and it really brightens their day. So if you would, it is on the 10th, on the 12th of February, next Friday. 13th. Okay, I told y'all you don't write things down unless you want me to read it. This says the 12th, Lawrence.
That's what my email said.
Okay. It is Friday the 13th. It does say the 13th. Okay, good to go. 13th at 10 a.m. All right. I think that is all my announcements thus far. We have some others coming up later in the program, but I would call Lawrence, would you like to come up for a Paul Harris Fellow and a new member?
I'll show you an email.
No.
It says 12. Because it confused me too. That's on there. All right, we have 2 Paul Harris Fellowships to do. The first one is a brand new Paul Harris Fellow, and this goes to Pat Quick. Pat, will you come up? I know you're here. There's Pat. Pat is a fairly new member. He joined in October of 2025. He was sponsored by Guardway and Gail Flowers, and he is executive director of the literacy program at Centenary College. And Pat, as I mentioned, just joined in October, and when we offered our matching program, I think it was in mid-December at some point, he took advantage of that program, wrote a check for it. We matched it with points, and that gave him as a member of the Paul Harris Fellow Club. And I'd like to present you, Pat, with your certificate naming you as a Paul Harris Fellow, and also with your pin that you can wear with pride to any Rotary event such as this meeting. So y'all thank Pat for his contributions to the foundation. Okay, thank you, sir. And the second one I have is for Dane Hassel. Where's Dane? I know he's here. Come on up, Dane. I don't remember if Dane did the matching program or not, but he is a regular contributor to the foundation, and in doing so, Dane has achieved Paul Harris Level 4. He is retired from the Shriners Hospital as an anesthesiologist, and I was getting cabin fever so bad last week, I wish I'd had him around just to knock me out for 2 or 3 days. But Dane, thank you for your continuing support of the foundation, and this is your Paul Harris Level 4 pin.
Thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's fine. Those are my notes. Now, I do have a new member to introduce. Daniel, will you come up? Daniel Wilson. Daniel has been introduced a couple of times to the club as a guest. He came our way by the Rotary International website. He wanted to give back to the community and felt Rotary was a way to do it. He sought a club in Shreveport, and after visiting us, he was very impressed with what we do and what we have to offer and decided to become a member. And a little bit about Daniel. Daniel is a founder, builder, and operating partner behind Luxury Contractors, a residential and commercial construction firm serving Louisiana, Texas, and the greater Southeast. He was raised in and around the trades. He spent his entire life building, fixing, improving, and understanding how structures actually perform under real-world conditions. His experience spans high-end residential work, complex commercial projects, and time spent in the oil field with C6 operating. He holds both a commercial and residential building license, and he leverages, I thought this was interesting, he leverages a commercial drone pilot's license to elevate his construction projects. He is married to his wife Rachel, and they live a life of leadership, a living life in leadership, and together they are raising 5 children, Easton, Everett, Abilene, Ashton, and pronounce the last one?
I'm sorry?
Pronounce her name?
Adelaida?
Adelaida. I didn't want to destroy it, so Adelaida, one of his kids. And like most of us, our kids are the center of what we do. And Daniel says fatherhood shapes his leadership style, and in his own words, he is intentional, protective, and relentlessly focused on long-term outcomes over short-term wins. So y'all help me welcome our newest member, Daniel Wilson.
Welcome aboard. Thank you, Lawrence. And just real quick, Matt, can you put up the slide, please, with the A-team and I forget the name of the other team. What was the name of the other team? Rotary Falling Stars or? Oh, it was Rising Stars. That's right. I'm sorry. I have to take preferential license when I'm up here. So, no, and get down the other team. No, they're leading. Are the slides up? Yeah. Well, I thought I'd asked you. It's a video? Okay. Well, oh, he has yours. Oh, no. This was, okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I thought we had the slide was up there. That's what I was going to email you. What I'll do is I'll email you when I sit down and we can show it at the end. It kind of shows where we're at right now between the two teams, okay? And we'll just give you updates as it goes. But Lori was good enough to put that together, so we'll go over that in just a bit. So with that, I'd like to call up Larry Clark to introduce our program.
Good afternoon. We're in for a treat today with our speaker and what he's going to be talking about. I've had the pleasure of knowing Paul Merkle for many, many years. I came here to Shreveport in 1981, and he was already on the faculty and was with him until I left in 94. As you know, I came back 20 years later to become the chancellor. So this morning, Charlotta sent me a text message and asked whether or not I might be able to introduce Paul today. And I said, great. My wife said, who is that? And I showed it, and she said, my favorite teacher of all time. Now you got to know something. My wife had me at LSUS before we ever dated. And we've been married 42 years. I said, you meant the non-related teacher, your favorite teacher of all time. And But that he was for many students. He cared greatly. He was a wonderful servant leader. He and I served together in the dean's office when I was the dean in 85 to 94. You know what our MBA program is, become at LSUS and online. But before there was online, we had one heck of a great face-to-face MBA program, and he oversaw that, designed it, saw that. He was always a servant leader. He even was a department chair for an interim point in accounting when I needed him at one point. He said, you got to be kidding me, when I was dean. But he was always willing and able to serve, and was a big loss to LSUS when he retired in 1997, excuse me. He currently is trustee and manager of a private charitable foundation, and he's an amateur historian, which we're going to hear about today, which he loves doing. He mentions, but he's quite modest, as he was when he was at LSUS, when he was so loved by the students, how great a professor he was and how caring a professor he was, about the fact of his role. The Salvation Army, here comes, and I should have Major Pierre up here to say what I'm going to say, but if you go over to the center and see what the name of the center is the Salvation Army Merkle Center of Hope. And in the storms that came by recently that we all got through, most of us were inconvenienced. Some were surviving for their life, for what they could do. And the Salvation Army Merkle Center was a warming center, temporary shelter, and meals. And Paul Merkle, when he was in the business school, back before I left in the 90s, one of the things that he always did, one day a week, he went to be working for Sister Margaret and what he did for meals. And that's something that he has cared about for a long, long time, and he's been involved in those kind of things for what he does. And so his wife Robin does the same thing, and whether it's the cupcake extravaganza, I can't read my writing here, but anyway, they do the cupcake event they have in December, where you see Paul at the Red Kettle Run, where he'll be there doing, they devote much time for that in their church and what they do. And so he's a terrific individual, and a great tribute to have him here speaking. Paul Merkle, please.
Thank you, Larry. You are way too kind. Way too kind. But those were good years. I was at LSU Shreveport for 21 years and definitely still miss the students and the classroom experience, but not so much the faculty meetings. Well, good afternoon. My name is Paul Merkle, and I am a retired LSU Shreveport economics professor. And now I'm an amateur historian, kind of specialize in 20th century history. There are a lot of people who, maybe even some in this meeting today, that know more about this topic than I do, but I have a lot of enthusiasm. I'm an amateur historian. I read about stuff, I get excited about it, and I try to write up a little bit of research about it. So there are definitely people who know more about Bonnie and Clyde than I do. I recognize that. But I have really enjoyed finding out what I have found out, and I want to share it with you today. Okay, this is my clicker, right? Good go. Good go. I think I know how this works. Did it change? It did? Great. Okay, it's working. Well, many of you have been to Bonnie and Clyde Trade Days, right? Anybody been to that? No? Really? Okay. Well, it's a flea market and a festival that's held right down the road in Arcadia, Louisiana. Everybody knows where Arcadia is, I'm sure. It's held every third Friday of the month. Now, us older folks know who Bonnie and Clyde is. We might remember them from the movie. Remember that movie with Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway? We might also remember them from our grandparents. One of my ex-in-laws, that's the way to put it, my ex-in-laws actually stumbled across Bonnie and Clyde when he was walking through the woods in North Louisiana. He saw them with blankets spread out, and they were eating a picnic dinner, and he had stumbled up on them by accident, and he really recognized who they are because he saw all their guns laying around, and he said, "Oops," and he just kept on walking and said, "Good morning, guys," and walked on. They said good morning, and that was it. But he told me that story several times. What's the true story? You know the story from Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty, but what's the true story, and what does Arcadia have to do with it? Okay, well, Bonnie Elizabeth Parker was born October 1st, 1910 in Rowena, Texas. Her father died early, and she and her mother moved to a suburb of Dallas called West Dallas when she was very young. She dropped out of high school and married a fellow named Roy Thornton when she was just short of 16 years old. They were separated after only 3 years, but they never divorced. She never divorced him. She moved back in with her mother and worked as a waitress in Dallas. She was very slender and only 4'11". Very short lady. How am I doing? I can't. Does that say beginning? Okay. All right. If I would just use it, let there be light. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Just use the pad, Paul. Clyde Chestnut Barrow was born on March 24th, 1909 in Tellico, Texas. He was the fifth of 7 children. His family moved to West Dallas when he was a young teenager. He soon got into trouble stealing turkeys, robbing stores, and stealing cars. He met Bonnie through a mutual friend in January 1930. He was arrested and convicted of auto theft in 1930 and eventually sent to Eastham Prison Farm when he was 21 years old. Clyde was not a very big man either. He was only 5'7". Clyde's father owned a gas station and a garage attached to their house in early 30s in West Dallas. Now, Clyde never lived at this location, but the garage was there during their crime spree. A reconstruction of this place is shown in the movie The Highwayman, which is on Netflix, which I recommend to you very highly. Well, how did Clyde Barrow become Clyde Barrow? Many factors contributed to him becoming an outlaw. Continued arrests led him to be sent to Eastham Prison Farm. As we said, it was one of the most harsh prisons in the U.S. at the time. Very difficult. Clyde was sexually abused by one of the other prisoners, and he killed that prisoner with a lead pipe. A lifer friend, who was going to be there anyway for life, took the blame for it. That was his first murder. He cut off 2 of his toes so he wouldn't have to do work details. And his friend said he came out of prison as mean as a rattlesnake. It was a really difficult experience for him. From then on, Clyde wanted revenge on law enforcement and the prison system. He decided to make a living by robbing grocery stores, gas stations, and banks. So what made Clyde an outlaw? Poverty in the Great Depression, harsh imprisonment in Eastham Prison Farm, a desire to get revenge against law enforcement, and some very poor choices. All in all, Clyde was no Robin Hood. And the attempts of Hollywood to make him out so are off base, I think. Eastham Prison Farm. By the 1930s, it had become a school for crime and criminals. It's still there. It's located near Lovelady, small town in east central Texas. It's now called the Dale Wainwright Unit, and it's not as harsh as it used to be, but it's still someplace you don't want to go. Clyde was an inmate there from 1930 to 1932, and he swore that he would die before he would ever go back. And that's important to note about his story. He said, "I'm never going back to prison. They're going to have to kill me." And he meant it literally. Well, here's Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie Parker rejoined Clyde when he was paroled in 1932. They began a crime spree that held up banks and stores throughout the mid and southwest. Now they're shown here in a field. Clyde is cleaning a shotgun. One of his Browning automatic rifles is shown right there in the bottom right foreground. And that BAR, or Browning automatic rifle, is his favorite weapon. Buck and Blanche. Well, Buck was Clyde's older brother. When he finally got out of jail, he made contact with Clyde. They decided to get together. Ostensibly, Buck was going to try to talk Clyde into giving himself up. But instead of that, when they got together, they started swapping old stories and that sort of thing, and Buck decided, well, I'm with you, bro, and they started working together in crime. They would be together until July 24th, when Buck would be mortally wounded and Blanche captured. One of their first meetings was going to be at a nice garage apartment in Joplin, Missouri. Here it is today. Suspicious activity of the Barra family and W.D. Jones, their friend, alerted police. Once, when Clyde was cleaning a rifle, it went off accidentally, and the gunshot noise spooked all the neighbors badly, and they called the police. The outlaws were then were in real trouble. The police decided they must be at least bootleggers, and so they surrounded the place. They put a 5-man force together. They tried to block the garage doors. Here's a diagram of it from the top down. They tried to block the garage doors with a police car, and they headed toward the left-hand door of the garage. Clyde, W.D. Jones, and Buck Barra confronted the police and killed two of the police officers. Then the 3 men and 2 women got in a big Ford sedan, pushed the car out of the way, and escaped. This is illustrated pretty well in the movie Bonnie and Clyde with Warren Beatty. The next few pictures come from the photos that Bonnie and W.D. Jones took and left in the Joplin garage apartment. The photos in various poses were meant to be silly and funny. One pictured Bonnie with a cigar in her mouth. Later, her family made it clear that this photo was either a joke or doctored by the newspapers. Would they do that? She smoked cigarettes, but not cigars. This cigar almost certainly belonged to their friend W.D. Jones. Much has been made of the romance of Bonnie and Clyde. It's true that Bonnie told her relatives that she loved Clyde dearly and that she would never leave him even if they died together. But it should be remembered that this pair were responsible for the killing of at least 12 people between February 32 and May of 34. That included 9 law enforcement officers and 3 civilians who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not long after these pictures were taken, Clyde missed a warning sign, "Bridge out." And when he got to that place, he turned the car over in a ditch. Back in those days, the battery in the car was not secured so well, right? Larry being a car expert. And the acid from the battery spilled onto Bonnie's leg and burned her very badly. For several months, Clyde had to carry her to and from their cars, and she walked with a limp until she died. These photos seem to show Bonnie as a gunslinger, but testimony by surviving companions indicate that their killing was attributed to the pair was actually done by Clyde and his friends and not so much by Bonnie. It's doubtful that Bonnie could have even lifted a 20-pound Browning automatic rifle. She weighed only 85 pounds. She was 4'11". Those who rode with Bonnie and Clyde said Bonnie was a good loader. She probably contributed mostly by making sure that Clyde and his friends' guns were fully loaded. Okay, what am I doing wrong? Oh, there it is. This picture shows Clyde holding a Browning automatic rifle with another BAR nearby. Those were Clyde's favorite weapons. He and his friends stole those from National Guard armories. Back then, apparently, they didn't have guards on the armory or they have permanent party on the armories. They just walked up, broke the lock, went in, got the guns. Unbelievable. So in Oklahoma and Illinois, the National Guards provided weapons for Bonnie and Clyde, not meaning to, of course. The car appears to be a V8 Ford, probably a 33 model. This was Clyde's favorite getaway car. This is a picture of William Daniel Jones, called WD, a frequent outlaw companion of Bonnie and Clyde. He grew up in West Dallas, and his family and the Barrows were very good friends. Jones joined the Bonnie and Clyde in December of '32 and promptly got involved in some stuff that would send him to prison. But he took many of the Joplin pictures, and this one was probably taken by Bonnie. He was wounded in the Joplin shootout. He participated in some of their other shootouts. He left the gang, though, in September of '33 and was arrested in Houston in November. He served his prison time like a good man and died in 1948. W.D. Jones. Now, he and another guy coming up here, Henry Methvin, were combined in the Warren Beatty picture into one person. W.D. Jones was the first real outlaw comrade of the pair. Bonnie, Clyde, Buck, Blanche, and W.D. were looking for a place to rest, and they found one in the Red Crown Cabins in Platte City, Missouri. By this time, law enforcement really knew who they were. They were the Bearer Gang, and they were looking for them all over the place. Their suspicious behavior alerted the local sheriff and highway patrol, and the law set up ambushes every place they could. That's what the Red Crown cabins look like. Well, there was a gun battle there, and at the gun battle at Red Crown, Buck was badly wounded. It turned out to be a mortal wound. He got hit in the head. 5 days after that battle, police caught up with him again in an abandoned amusement park, and this famous picture was taken by a newspaper photographer, and you can see Blanche. Can you see her screaming? She's been held by police officers. She's screaming not because of what just happened to her husband, but she's screaming because she thought the photographer's camera was a gun, and the photographer was going to execute them immediately. That's what she was thinking when she was in that state. Buck Barra is in that picture too, but you can't see him very well. He's behind the guy. I've got Buck there. He's behind the guy in the overalls. He's laying on the ground, very badly wounded. Well, Buck and Blanche were captured. Buck eventually died about 3 or 4 days later. Blanche was captured and spent a good deal of time in prison. In the meantime, Bonnie and Clyde were traveling all over. They traveled. Clyde was amazing. He could drive and drive and drive and drive and drive all day. And so they would go places like Colorado, Minnesota, Mississippi, all over the place. They robbed a National Guard armory in Oklahoma. As we said, they got some BARs and ammunition. Another armory in Platteville, Illinois, got some more stuff. All the time, Clyde had in his mind that he wanted to get revenge on the people of the Easton Prison Farm. So he and some others organized a raid and a breakout from Easton Prison Farm. One of the people that they freed was a guy named Henry Methvin, who replaced W.D. Jones as their sidekick. During the escape, one of the outlaws fatally shot one of the prison guards. He was on a horse, but it didn't help him. He got shot and killed. That brought the full fury of the Texas law enforcement against Bonnie and Clyde. Former Texas Ranger Frank Hamer was then enlisted to lead the hunt. He began looking for Bonnie and Clyde in February of '34. And again, I'll recommend the movie Highwayman. It shows that scenario very well about how they hired Frank Hamer. Ma Ferguson was the governor of Texas at the time. She didn't like Hamer, but she realized that he was probably the only one that was going to be able to catch him. Well, in the meantime, Bonnie, Clyde, and Henry Methvin were stopped by 2 Texas highway patrolmen on motorcycles in Grapevine, Texas. Clyde turned to Henry and said, "Let's take them," meaning let's kidnap them. Let's kidnap them, have some fun with them, and then let them go. He had done that with other police officers. But Henry Methvin was new to the gang, and he thought let's take them meant let's shoot them. So he did. He opened fire with his BAR and killed both of the police officers. Now, there was a witness up on the hill watching down at this, and he thought that Bonnie walked over to one of the dying police officers and shot him in the face with her shotgun. He thought. Later, we don't think that's what happened. Later, we think, on further analysis, it was probably Clyde Barra who did that. But that identification as a bloody gangster for Bonnie sealed her fate. From then on, she was considered to be part and parcel of the gang and just as mean and dangerous as they were. It was not good for her fate. But they also learned, police also learned, that they were not going to take this couple just by arresting them. Arresting them was going to be very dangerous because they'd shot their way out of several other attempts to arrest them. Frank Hamer studied the movements of Bonnie and Clyde and found that they moved in an arc of 5 to 6 states. They often came back to Dallas to visit their family members. In May of '34, Hamer formed the posse of 4 Texas and 2 Louisiana officers and deputies. Members of that posse also visited the Methvin home in Northland, Louisiana. They knew that Henry Methvin's father lived near Gibbsland, Louisiana, and they started making contact with him. It turns out that he was very concerned about the fate of his son, and he asked Hamer if he could be excused from his crimes in Texas, at least if he would give them information on how to get to Bonnie and Clyde. They did make an arrangement. Well, okay, there's a map. There's Shreveport. There's Arcadia. There's Gibbsland. And if you take Highway 154 south out of Gibbsland, you can come to the spot where the ambush of Bonnie and Clyde occurred. Hamer and his posse acted on information from the family of Henry Methvin, and they set up an ambush near Gibbsland. Bonnie and Clyde were due to visit the Methvin home on May 23, 1934. Henry Methvin managed to get separated from Bonnie and Clyde, and his father cooperated with the posse by stalling his truck on the road to his house. The plan was that Clyde would step out on the road when Clyde slowed down to help Mr. Methvin. Hamer's plan was to step out and say, "Hands up." Well, the posse had to wait several hours. It was warm that day, and there were lots of mosquitoes in the air, and it was very uncomfortable for everybody. They had to wait several hours for Bonnie and Clyde to come down the road. When they finally came, they saw a Methvin stalled truck, and they slowed down. Very soon after that, all 6 members of the posse opened fire, and Bonnie and Clyde were riddled with bullets. Most of them probably died almost immediately. And if you don't want to look at a grim picture, turn away. This is the 1934 V8 Ford that Bonnie and Clyde were killed in. This was taken from a home movie that one of the members of the posse took. And yes, indeed, that is Bonnie, and still in the car there. That's her body. There are a large number of bullet holes in there, over 100 bullet holes. What you're seeing is the side of the car that was away from the posse. That's why you don't see as many bullet holes in the side of the car. Well, this is the Hamer posse. The 2 on the left are from Dallas. They're deputy sheriffs. The 2 in the middle, well, those are our Louisiana men. The one in the back is Prentice Oakley, a deputy sheriff. The one in the front, right there in the middle, that is Sheriff Henderson Jordan of Bienville Parish. Okay, moving to the right there, behind Frank Hamer, is Manny Galt, his friend from the Texas Rangers. So the 2 on the right are former Texas Rangers, now Texas Highway Patrolmen. And they formed the posse that got Bonnie and Clyde. Not long after the ambush, there was a lot of controversy about whether law enforcement really gave them a chance to surrender. Did they give them a chance to surrender? Well, here's Hamer's version of what happened. Yep, Bonnie and Clyde's car slowed down to help Mr. Methvin. True. Frank Hamer wanted to step out in front of that car, point his rifle at him, and ask him to surrender. Hands up. But that's not the way it turned out. This is the way it turned out. A lot of research has been done on exactly what happened in the shootout. For one thing, the members of the posse were not right next to each other. They were about each one of them 10 yards apart. The first one in line was Deputy Prentice Oakley, who was the youngest of the group, probably the most nervous. And when he saw Clyde slow down, he didn't do anything but open fire. Shot him immediately through the head. It was only about 30 yards away. That's a pretty easy shot with a .30-06. So that was the end of Clyde Barrow. He continued to shoot, and when the other members of the posse heard the shooting, they opened fire as well. They had some BARs, which are automatic rifles. They kept going, and before it was over, 150 shots had gone into that car. The shots that were fired killed Clyde Barrow almost immediately, went through him and killed Bonnie on the other side, on the passenger side of the car. It was not a pretty sight. Bonnie and Clyde's car was towed into Arcadia. There's the link to Arcadia. It was towed into Arcadia, and it's now in Buffalo Bill's Resort and Casino in Primm, Nevada. Now you say, wait a minute, I saw that in car in Gippsland. Well, that was a replica, folks. Somebody got one of those cars, shot it full of holes, painted it right, and that's a replica. And I think if you read the fine print, you'll see it was a replica. The provenance on the car in Primm, Nevada has been established. All right, here's one of my favorite things to do, compare history with Hollywood. Do they get it right or not? Well, Bonnie and Clyde, 1967, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. Well, as some of the people who have researched Bonnie and Clyde will tell you in a minute, it makes great entertainment. But it is not history, or very much anyway. There are a lot of things wrong with it. One of the most serious errors is that Bonnie and Clyde never kidnapped Frank Hamer. They didn't even see him until the very end. And the Hamer family sued the producer of this movie and won and got big bucks out of it. So there's some other things that are omitted. Some of the worst things that Bonnie and Clyde did, like shooting those motorcycle policemen and some other things, they are omitted from the movie. The raid on Easton Prison Farm, that's omitted. But I do recommend this one that some of you say you have seen, Highwayman with Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson. I think they're both great actors. Kevin Costner plays Frank Hamer. Woody Harrelson plays his buddy Manny Galt. And it is a good movie, mostly. Again, it exaggerates probably the role of Bonnie. Bonnie, yep, she was there. Bonnie, yep, she loaded the guns. Bonnie did a lot of things, but we're not convinced that she was the one who actually pulled the trigger. Well, I've got a number of good sources if you want to read more about it. Okay, it's done. Huh? I would highly recommend two books to you. This one is called Go Down Together. And it's a quote that originally from Bonnie. She said, we're going to go down together. And this book is by a fellow named Jeff Gwynn, and he has done some very thorough research. There are lots of footnotes here, a lot of notes about where he got his information, and I highly recommend it to you if you're interested in this topic. Very well done. This is another one that's well done. It's called Bonnie and Clyde, The Making of a Legend by Karen Blumenthal. This is about very accurate. It's kind of like reading the World Book Encyclopedia, and this is the Britannica, okay? If you remember those from, I'm dating myself. The World Book Britannica. You get a lot more information here and a lot more detail. They're both good, and if you're interested in the topic, I recommend them to you. I use the Gwynn book for a lot of what I did here. How am I doing on time? Got time for questions? Wonderful. Okay, anybody got some questions? I'll do the best I can. Will we have any car enthusiasts here? Question?
It doesn't seem like they were as wealthy as some criminals like Al Capone or Bugsy Siegel. Do you have any idea how many banks they robbed in their days?
How many banks? Not very many. Actually, they robbed a lot more grocery stores and, let's see, what else? Just armories, National Guard armories. They didn't rob very many banks because they thought they were too well guarded, and they didn't deliberately want to walk into a shootout. Now, John Dillinger, different story. They majored in banks, right? But not this group. Question?
Thanks for your presentation. I've always been confused about why Bonnie and Clyde are so romanticized in history. I mean, they were really reprobates, killed 12 people, blah, blah, blah. Why are, and yet they're having, you know, I mean, Arcadia does trade days that they, all this, movies made and all. Why, what about these people caused them to be so romanticized?
I think it's the fascination with outlaws. Think about Jesse James. Guess who Clyde Barrow's favorite hero was? Jesse James. He looked up to the story of Jesse James, wanted to fulfill Jesse James' career in his own time. So, I don't know. People have a fascination with outlaws, I guess. And they certainly did here. I think the movie with Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway is entertainment, pure entertainment. And if you like that sort of thing, go for it. If you're an historian, you may not think much of it. Yes.
Have you done any research on the Highwaymen? Because a lot of that was filmed in Shreveport along Leonard Road, the White House. You can see it now. That old house was where they recruited them. When they were doing stuff along a dirt road, that's a cross. But is there other scenes that they film here?
Yeah, actually, Kevin Costner has a good relationship with Shreveport. He's been here several times, as you know. What was the name of the movie? The Guardian? Was that it? Yeah. He was here for that. And he went duck hunting with some of the local folks here. Did anybody go duck hunting with Kevin Costner? Anyway, he also loves Labrador Retrievers, which puts him close to my heart. But yes, he has that relationship. That movie, The Highwaymen, is a lot more accurate, but it still has some serious problems historically. Again, overemphasizing Bonnie, it actually shows her shooting the highway patrolman in the face, which we don't think she really did. She was there, and she was guilty, but again, probably got a little bit too much fanfare. Anybody else? There's Larry.
Paul, you're still on top of your game of competition.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, it's always interesting to know why a historian gets interested in a particular story. Why this story for you? You obviously have a lot of passion for it, but even more important, you've separated out fact from fiction and followed a lot of different directions on it. What got you into it? Why this story?
Great question, as I expected. For one thing, my parents were married in March 1934, right smack dab in the middle of all this. And this was a time when the FBI was trying to get established. At that time, they were called the Division of Investigation, DI. They weren't even called the FBI. It didn't happen until 1935. But the DI, or what was to become the FBI, had a lot of criminals on their plate, including Purdy Boy Floyd from Oklahoma, including Babyface Nelson, including all those heroes? They're not heroes to me, but all those guys had big names in the newspapers. I personally think that J. Edgar Hoover played those guys up so that he could get more money for the FBI, if you want to know the truth, to build his organization. That would be my guess. Anybody else? Thank you.
On behalf of the Rotary Club, I just want to give you a little power bank.
Oh, well, thank you.
Your travels down to
Yeah.
Arcadia and Gippsland.
Okay.
Don't lose power, don't lose power.
Okay, well,
Thank you
thank
very much, thank you. That's great. Has anybody been down to that museum before? One person, anybody been to the museum before? In Arcadia? Okay, over here, yeah. It's really small, but it's kind of cool. And they have those BARs set up and everything, and the car that's riddled with the holes. It's pretty neat. Again, just want to remind you about signing up for the stuff at the Glen on the 12th. If you would, sign those. It only takes a minute. It really does not take long. We're there the 13th. Still says the 12th. 13th at 10 a.m. But anyway, I'd like to call up Charlotta. She wants to talk about next week's program and a special guest we're going to have real quick. Do you know about that? Okay, I'll tell you about this real quick. Along with the program next week, Lieutenant Governor is going to be here, and he's going to speak for about 5 minutes. He's in town for an official function, and he called and he wanted to stop by. So he's going to just stop in. But for the program next week,
even more reason that you may want to invite your significant other next week. Shreveport Opera Express is going to be singing that day, and we've specifically asked them to sing love songs in honor of Valentine's Day. So invite your significant other to join you. My request is a personal one. As y'all know, I come in as district governor July 1st. I am what I would call technologically challenged in some ways, and I need somebody who can help me put together a playlist that I'm not connected to the internet, because the place that we're going to be doing president training in Natchez, Mississippi, the internet in their convention center is very iffy. So I need something that I have the songs that I want to put on it, but I need somebody who can help me get it in some way that we can play it over a computer or over something else, but something not connected to the internet. So if you're willing to be my technological wizard, see me afterwards. Thank you.
Charlotte, it's really easy. Brent Ladd. Help to know what you're going to be plugging into. Just a USB.
It's probably on a USB. We're going to be plugging it into Rich Bontoli's computer.
If that's your worst problem, Charlotte, you're okay. You're going to make it. As far as the love songs next week, I'd like to go ahead and say, Havard, you're going to sit with me next week. All right. What's that? I said, as far as the love songs next week, I'm already grabbing Havard next week. He's going to sit with me. And Larry, you're going to be my sandwich, so, we'll all be right here. Yeah. All right. So with that, that concludes today's Rotary. I'd like to thank, we need to do the raffle. I don't have any raffle. I got so wrapped up in Paul's presentation, I didn't get any tickets, didn't do anything. There, you just want me to call those tickets right there, Mark? That's great. All right, play the elevator music. What do we have here? How many eggs do we have? 2 half-dozen. Okay. So for the Rotary Foundation, we took in $96, $98 to the foundation, $98 to the winner of ticket number 3136. 3136. All right, there you go, Jason. All right, and eggs, we've got 2 half-dozen eggs. Oh, we got Rosemead flowers also for 3079. 3079. There you go. All right. That's 2 weeks in a row Larry hadn't won. That's what's going on. That's a dry streak, Larry. Okay, the first half-dozen eggs from Andy Sheehy's Chickens are 3278. 3278. Going once, going twice, 3278. Oh, you gotta wake up, Doug, come on now. All right, second dozen, 3104. 3104. All right, Lawrence, there you go. Okay, so I'd like to thank Lawrence Calhoun, the money taker, Daniel Templeton for raffle tickets, and Laura Gunther for greeter scanner. And, oh, real quick, put it up there, Matt. Let's just so we can see the graphic that Lori made. Just go to the second slide, third slide. Okay, we have technical difficulty. There we go, okay. So, we got a long way to go. We still have, 4.5 months, but
It's a marathon.
yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Thank you, Mark. But it's not, we got the rising stars in a little bit of a lead, but not insurmountable at all. So we need to kick it into gear, Team A. Okay, so that is it. Does anybody have any other business they need to discuss? If not, please stand and join me in the 5-way test. Of all the things that we think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun? Rotary is adjourned.